Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a journey into a source that has truly resonated with so many, including myself. It's a profound book, really, born from an incredibly powerful commencement speech. We're talking about Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life, and Maybe the World, by Admiral William H. McRaven. He's a U.S. Navy SEAL. His illustrious career spanned, 37 years, culminating as commander of all U.S. Special Operations Forces.
Yeah, quite a career.
Right. But this isn't just a military memoir. It's more like a distillation of universal truths, forged in the crucible of, extreme environments. What's so compelling is how these 10 principles, drawn from the harrowing intensity of Navy SEAL training and combat, offer a surprisingly accessible roadmap for all of us, really. Admiral McRaven first shared this wisdom at his alma mater, the University of Texas at Austin, back in 2014. And its message clearly struck a chord, far beyond that graduating class.
It really did. It went viral, didn't it?
It absolutely did. So we're going to unpack these lessons, seeing how they offer a powerful shortcut, not just to navigating life's challenges, but to, truly thriving and making a tangible impact on the world around you.
It's true. And, the very title, Make Your Bed, it immediately signals that the insights we're about to explore won't be about, grand strategic maneuvers or complex geopolitical theories.
Right. Not what you might expect.
Exactly. Instead, McRaven deliberately zeroes in on fundamental human behaviors, mindsets. He purposefully shows us that even though his career was defined by war and, high-stakes operations, these lessons possess a universal appeal. It doesn't matter your background, your profession, or the personal challenges you face. It really invites us to consider a core question. Can something as seemingly mundane as making your bed or, the other principles he outlines, genuinely hold the key to significant personal transformation and perhaps even to changing the world?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. So we're going to dive into each of these powerful principles one by one, starting with that very first deceptively simple idea.
Okay, that's a perfect springboard. Let's begin with that foundational principle, the first one. If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. I mean, on the surface, it seems almost trivial, doesn't it?
It really does.
But what is it about this seemingly mundane task? Why does McRaven argue it holds such profound significance for not just an individual, but potentially the entire world?
Well, it's a brilliant starting point, precisely because it seems trivial. McRaven describes his life in the Spartan Coronado barracks during basic SEAL training. Just picture it. Steel frame beds, a single mattress, bottom sheet, top sheet, gray wool blanket.
Pretty bare bones.
Very. And every morning the task was to make your bed with absolute, almost surgical precision.
Yeah.
We're talking tucking the bottom and top sheets so tightly they were like a drum.
Yeah.
Folding a second blanket expertly into a perfect, crisp rectangle at the foot and centering a single pillow. And there's a small detail here, a poignant one. The pillow was made by the Lighthouse for the Blind, centered perfectly at the head. The standard wasn't just neatness, it was perfection. And it was enforced by the dreaded quarter test.
The quarter test, okay, that sounds intense. What exactly did that entail? I mean, what happened?
It was an instructor's simple but utterly intimidating ritual. They would flip a quarter onto the made bed. And it wasn't just about a gentle bounce, It had to spring high enough for them to deftly catch it.
No way, just from the tightness of the sheets.
Exactly. Imagine the pressure, the sheer focus on that minute detail. And the consequence for failure. Immediate and memorable. Becoming a sugar cookie.
A sugar cookie? What's that?
You'd be ordered into the frigid surf, fully clothed, emerge drenched, only to then roll around in the coarse sand until every inch of you was covered. Yeah, a gritty, miserable mess for the rest of the day. The lesson wasn't about getting praise for a perfectly made bed. That was simply expected. It was the very first task of the day, designed to instill unwavering discipline, meticulous attention to detail, and a commitment to doing things right every single time. It was about starting your day with a win, a completed task.
And McRaven carried this habit with him throughout his entire Navy career, right? It shows its enduring impact, even in, some pretty unconventional places. He mentioned applying it even on a submarine.
He absolutely did. Even in the cramped sickbay of the USS Grayback submarine, where beds were stacked 4 high, the doctor there insisted on this routine. He recognized the direct connection between cleanliness, order, and ultimately the quality of medical care.
Interesting connection.
Yeah. It became a constant for McRaven, a bedrock habit. The personal impact, however, is perhaps even more striking. He recounts a very personal experience after suffering a serious parachute accident post 9/11. He was recuperating at home.
Right, I remember reading about that.
The first physical thing he managed to do when he was well enough to lift himself unaided was to make his hospital bed. For him, it wasn't just physical therapy. It was a powerful symbolic act. It signaled to himself that he had, quote, conquered the injury and was moving forward.
So it really became a profound mental and emotional benchmark for him, a signal of internal resolve, even in the toughest times. What about his time in Iraq? He mentioned Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, in Iraq, even when sleeping on army cots in makeshift headquarters, he continued this routine. And there's an amusing yet incredibly telling anecdote he shares. When Saddam Hussein was captured and held as a prisoner, he too slept on an army cot.
Okay.
McRaven, during his daily visits to ensure proper care, noticed with a wry amusement that Saddam never made his bed. The covers were always crumpled.
Huh. That's quite a contrast.
It really is. It highlights a fundamental difference in approach, doesn't it? To self-discipline, to personal order. But what this truly speaks to, I think, is the power of small wins. Successfully completing that first small task each morning provides a genuine, if small, sense of pride. This small victory then creates a positive momentum, encouraging you to tackle the next task and then the next. And critically, even on a day filled with misery and setbacks, coming home to a made bed offers a small, quiet encouragement that, despite everything, you achieved something. And tomorrow holds the potential to be better.
Yeah.
For you, the listener, it's a foundational habit, a simple act that sets a positive trajectory for your entire day and subtly builds resilience.
That's a compelling way to frame it. It's not just about tidiness, is it? It's about cultivating internal discipline and that forward momentum.
Exactly.
That brings us to lesson 2. If you want to change the world, find someone to help you paddle. Now, McRaven pivots here to a deeply personal and, frankly, harrowing story. His own parachute accident. How does that intense experience, even for a highly trained Navy SEAL, underscore his lesson about finding someone to help you paddle?
Oh, it's a story that dramatically reinforces the principle. The initial lesson, he explains, came from the rigorous 10-foot rubber raft training in basic SEAL. These rafts, they weren't just for water, they were carried everywhere.
Everywhere? Like how?
Imagine running to the chow hall with a heavy rubber raft balanced on your head, or maneuvering it in a low-slung position up and down treacherous sand dunes, then paddling it endlessly through pounding surf.
Sounds exhausting just thinking about it.
It was brutal. There were 7 men per raft, and the unspoken rule was absolute team reliance. If one man was sick or injured or just plain struggling, the others instinctively picked up the slack. They paddled harder, they shared extra rations, demonstrating a crucial, life-sustaining reciprocity.
So teamwork wasn't optional.
Not at all. This experience ingrained in him the profound realization that no one, absolutely no one, could get through that kind of brutal training, or later through the chaos of combat alone. You fundamentally need people in your life, particularly during the most difficult times.
That initial training definitely sets the stage. But McRaven's own story, the parachute accident, it's just a visceral, almost terrifying illustration of this. Years later, right, when he was a seasoned captain.
Precisely.
Oh.
25 years after his initial training, as a highly decorated Navy captain commanding all SEALs on the West Coast, he was on a routine parachute jump, 12,000 feet up.
Okay.
He recounts the sudden, violent impact. Another jumper's parachute deployed directly beneath him, hitting him at like 120 miles per hour.
Oh my God.
He spun out of control, barely conscious. His partially deployed main parachute then wrapped around one leg, and as he struggled, it twirled around the other, binding his legs tightly with the risers. When the canopy finally caught air, the immense force violently tore his pelvis apart by almost 5 inches.
5 inches? That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. His stomach muscles detached, his back and leg muscles were severely damaged. He needed a titanium plate and some called a scapular screw, a device to stabilize his shoulder blade just for stability.
The sheer brutality of that injury is harrowing, especially for someone like him. To go from a lifetime of feeling, maybe invincible, surviving countless life-threatening situations, to being bedridden for months, consumed by self-pity, it highlights a critical vulnerability.
It absolutely does, and it raises an important question about perceived invincibility, doesn't it? McRaven talks about how he felt he could get out of almost any perilous situation, having navigated so many incidents before.
Yeah.
This accident was a stark, brutal reminder that physical prowess, skill, mental toughness, None of it makes you immune from life's tragic random moments. It was during this period, this immense physical pain and profound self-pity, that his wife, Georgian, provided what he called tough love, refusing to let him wallow, reminding him of his unwavering spirit.
That sounds crucial.
It was. Friends visited, called, offered genuine help, not just sympathy.
Right.
And critically, his boss, Admiral Eric Olson, even circumvented policy to save his career, refused to let such a valuable leader be lost due to injury. McRaven openly acknowledges that anything he achieved later in life, particularly commanding all U.S. Special Operations Forces, was fundamentally a result of others' help and unwavering support.
That's powerful.
So the takeaway for you, the listener, is pretty clear. Your success, your ability to weather life's storms, it truly depends on the team around you, whether that's family, friends, colleagues, mentors. Recognizing the importance of building that supportive network and, maybe even more importantly, accepting help when you're facing those personal challenges. It's absolutely crucial.
That's a truly humbling and vital perspective. Okay, moving from the power of community to the power within. Lesson 3 is, if you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart. How does McRaven challenge our sort of common assumptions about what makes someone truly strong or capable with this principle?
Oh, he challenges them profoundly. This lesson directly upends our preconceived notions, the ones based on outward appearances. McRaven recounts a vivid memory from a morning swim. 2 miles in 8-foot Coronado surf. Pretty rough.
Definitely.
An instructor, a grizzled Vietnam vet, was inspecting a small seaman recruit, barely 5'4", new to the Navy. The instructor teased him mercilessly about his size, suggesting the powerful waves could break him in half, basically telling him he should just quit.
That's harsh.
Very. But the recruit, with a defiant, "I won't quit," and a quiet, encouraging whisper, "Prove me wrong," from the instructor. He pushed himself beyond all expectations, finished near the head of the class.
Incredible.
SEAL training, McRaven learned, was indeed a great equalizer. It proved that size, skin color, wealth, innate talent. Ultimately, none of that mattered as much as sheer determination, mental grit, and an indomitable spirit.
And McRaven himself had a similar, deeply personal experience that really cemented this lesson for him, didn't he? Where he initially made a judgment based purely on appearance.
He did, yeah, and it's a story he tells with obvious humility. He recounts being a midshipman, visiting the SEAL training facility, feeling quite proud of his own perceived physical strength and capabilities,
Sure, young and confident.
Exactly. He saw a civilian whom he describes as frail, slightly built, with mop-haired, hair-admiring photos of SEALs on a wall. McRaven admits to silently wondering if this person could ever possibly endure the brutal rigors of training or carry a heavy ruck. Feeling like a pang of sorrow that someone might have misled this civilian to even consider such a tough path.
Oh boy, setting himself up there.
Big time. But that civilian, as it turns out, was anything but frail. He embodied the very essence of inner strength.
So who was he?
That's the absolute punchline, the powerful reveal. This seemingly frail man was Lieutenant Tom Norris, a Medal of Honor recipient.
Wow, Medal of Honor.
Yes. Norris had gone deep behind enemy lines on successive nights in Vietnam, executing these incredibly audacious missions to rescue 2 downed airmen. He was later gravely wounded, shot in the face, left for dead, and miraculously rescued by another Medal of Honor recipient, Petty Officer Mike Thornton.
Unbelievable story.
And after an incredible battle back from that devastating injury, Norris was accepted into the FBI's first hostage rescue team, a testament to his unbreakable spirit. And what's even more remarkable, Norris himself was almost booted out of SEAL training back in '69 for being too small.
That just turns everything on its head.
Completely. His story totally upends our common assumptions about what truly makes someone strong or capable. It powerfully highlights that outward appearances are often profoundly deceiving. True potential, true power lies in one's inner drive, one's moral courage, what McRaven calls the size of their heart. It serves as a great equalizer, reminding us to look far past superficial characteristics, to deeply appreciate the inner qualities that truly define a person. For you, the listener, it's a potent call to challenge your own preconceived notions and to value the unseen resilience within yourself and, importantly, in others.
That's a truly humbling and incredibly important story. Okay, let's move on to lesson 4. If you want to change the world, get over being a sugar cookie and keep moving forward. That phrase, life isn't fair, it's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, isn't it? But Mookie Martin's story really illustrates how you push past it, how you keep moving forward.
It's a lesson born from a deeply uncomfortable, yet, universally relatable experience from SEAL training. the sugar cookie punishment.
Right, you mentioned that earlier. Miserable.
Exactly. This was McRaven's recurring punishment for any violation of the SEAL training rules, often, he notes, with no apparent rhyme or reason, just at the arbitrary whim of an instructor.
Sounds frustrating.
The process involved jumping into the frigid surf zone fully clothed, then immediately rolling in the coarse sand until covered head to toe. It wasn't the most physically painful punishment, he says, but it was incredibly uncomfortable. You'd spend the rest of the day wet and sandy, with sand literally everywhere in your clothes, your hair, your teeth. Many trainees struggled deeply to accept that their best efforts still often resulted in this, well, indiscriminate punishment. Those who couldn't accept this fundamental unfairness, they often quit.
I can see how that would break someone.
Yeah. It was Lieutenant Philip Hill Moki Martin, a quintessential frogman, Vietnam veteran, a legendary figure in the SEAL community who gave McRaven the blunt, unforgettable lesson after he'd become a sugar cookie yet again. He just said, "Because, Mr. Mac, life isn't fair, and the sooner you learn that, the better off you will be."
Straight to the point. And Mookie Martin, the very man who delivered that tough but vital lesson, would later face an unimaginable personal tragedy, one that put his own words to the ultimate test.
His story perfectly, almost tragically, embodies the principle he taught. Mookie Martin wasn't just a phenomenal athlete and superb SEAL operator. He was also an early pioneer in the grueling world of triathlons. One Saturday morning, while on a training ride, his bicycle collided head-on with another at roughly 25 miles per hour. The impact was horrific. Crumpled both bikes, slammed the riders to the asphalt. Mookie was left face down, unable to move. Despite initial hopes, he never regained the use of his legs. Paralyzed from the waist down, limited arm movement for the past 35 years.
That's devastating. What truly strikes me, though, is his unwavering reaction to such a life-altering event. He really embodied his own lesson, didn't he?
Crucially, yeah. McRaven notes that he never once heard Mookie complain, ask why me, or display any self-pity. In fact, after his accident, Mookie went on to become an accomplished painter, father to daughter, and founded the annual Super Frog Triathlon in Coronado, an event he continues to oversee to this day.
Incredible resilience.
This theme of dealing with unfairness is absolutely crucial for everyone. It directly connects to the idea that external circumstances where you were raised, how your parents treated you, the schools you attended, the random accidents that happen, they do not, and they should not, determine your future.
It's about the response.
Exactly. What does determine your future is how you respond to adversity. McRaven mentions figures like Helen Keller, Nelson Mandela, Stephen Hawking, Malala Yousafzai in this context, all defined not by the unfairness they endured, but by how they confronted and transcended it. It's about cultivating deep resilience and maintaining perspective when things are utterly outside your control. Don't complain, don't blame, just drive on. For you, the listener, this lesson is an invitation. Embrace resilience, maintain forward momentum when faced with inevitable setbacks and the unfairness that life, without question, will throw your way.
That's a powerful call to action.
Yeah.
Don't succumb to self-pity. Find a way forward. Which brings us nicely to lesson 5. If you want to change the world, don't be afraid of the circus. This idea of the circus, starting as this brutal punishment but ultimately becoming a source of strength, that's a huge aha moment, isn't it? A complete reframing of how we often perceive failure.
It absolutely is. And it's one of the most transformative insights McRaven offers, I think. In SEAL training, if you fail to meet the rigorous standard on any event, calisthenics, obstacle course, timed runs, swims, your name was immediately put on the circus list.
Okay, the circus. What did that actually involve?
It wasn't just extra training. It was 2 hours of additional grueling calisthenics, filled with non-stop harassment, psychological pressure from instructors whose explicit goal was to break your spirit, to force you to quit.
Sounds miserable.
McRaven and his swim buddy, Ensign Mark Thomas, they consistently struggled in swims, often finishing last. So their frequent punishment was the circus, which included hundreds of torturous flutter kicks specifically designed not just to strengthen abdominals and thighs, but to utterly exhaust and break trainees.
And the fear wasn't just the immediate pain of those 2 hours, was it? It was the compounding exhaustion it would cause for the next day's challenges, creating what McRaven called a death spiral.
That's precisely it. The pervasive fear was that the extreme fatigue from the circus would make you fail again the next day, leading to this self-perpetuating cycle of failure that, caused many to quit.
But something else happened.
Right. But McRaven notes a funny thing happened.
Yeah.
The circus, intended as punishment and a deterrent, actually made them physically stronger, faster, and far more confident in the water.
So the punishment backfired, in a way.
Or reframed itself. They started moving up in the pack, incrementally improving their performance. It was a complete shift. What was meant to be a punishment for failure became a crucible for profound growth. This transformation culminated in a final, grueling 5-mile open ocean swim. They were initially told they came in last again, only to discover, to their astonishment and the instructor's genuine respect, that they were actually the first pair to finish.
Wow, what a turnaround. And McRaven experienced a similar kind of circus in his own distinguished career, didn't he? A professional failure that could have ended everything, but instead became a turning point.
He did. A really pivotal moment, July 1983. He was relieved of his SEAL squadron, essentially fired, as he puts it, for trying to change its organization, training methods, mission focus. His reputation was, in his words, severely damaged.
That must have been devastating for a career officer.
Absolutely. He found himself at a crossroads. Two stark options. Quit for civilian life, which seemed the logical choice given the detrimental impact on his officer fitness report, or weather the storm and prove to others and myself that I was a good SEAL officer.
And he chose the latter.
He chose the latter, choosing not to be defined by that setback. He actively used that failure as a powerful motivation to outwork, outhustle, and outperform everyone in his next overseas deployment. Through sheer will and exceptional performance, he regained respect, eventually commanded his own SEAL team, then all West Coast SEALs, and ultimately, led all U.S. Special Operations Forces.
Incredible comeback.
Yeah. He later admitted to stumbling often as a one-star admiral in Iraq and Afghanistan, but learned that these failures, rather than being defeats, strengthened him, taught him not to be afraid to try again or make tough, sometimes unpopular decisions. This raises an important question, I think, about how we perceive and internalize failure. McRaven demonstrates that failure isn't an endpoint. It's a crucible. It's the intense heat and pressure of that struggle, that 2-hour circuses of grueling calisthenics that forges something stronger within you.
So don't avoid the struggle.
Right. It's not about avoiding the pain or discouragement, because those are very real. It's about consciously choosing to persevere through them, to extract the lessons, and to allow those failures to incrementally build a physical and mental resilience that you simply couldn't develop otherwise. For you, the listener, it's a powerful reframing. Failure isn't a dead end. It's a necessary, albeit painful, part of the process of growth, leading to unexpected strength and ultimate success.
That's a profound takeaway, learning to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. And this flows perfectly into Lesson 6. If you want to change the world, slide down the obstacle head first. McRaven uses this vivid image, sliding down a rope head first, and then later authorizing that high-risk helicopter landing. What does this teach us about the nature of, calculated risk-taking?
It absolutely highlights the crucial distinction between recklessness and daring greatly. In SEAL training, one of the most iconic obstacles was the slide for life, a daunting 30-foot tower, a 100-foot rope stretching to another tower.
Okay, I can picture that.
The traditional method, the possum style, involved hanging underneath and inching along, safe but agonizingly slow. McRaven initially used this method. An instructor, one of those grizzled Vietnam vets, openly showed contempt for this cautious approach, asking him, with thinly veiled sarcasm, "When you're going to learn, Mr. Mac, that obstacle course is going to beat you every time unless you start taking some risks."
So he didn't just suggest taking a risk, he literally dared him to do something, more dangerous, more daring.
Exactly. The commando style, sliding head first, was significantly faster, but undeniably far riskier. A fall from that height, certain injury, washing out of the class entirely. High stakes. Very. But McRaven, pushing past his very real fear and trusting his training, tried it head first, and, to his surprise and relief, achieved a personal best time. It was a simple yet profound lesson in overcoming anxieties and trusting your abilities, a lesson that would prove incredibly crucial later in his career, on a far grander scale.
And we see that lesson applied on a national security level, don't we? With that incredibly high-stakes hostage rescue mission in Iraq.
Indeed, 2004, McRaven's command received critical intelligence. 3 hostages held by al-Qaeda terrorists in a small walled compound near Baghdad. The intel indicated the terrorists were about to move the hostages. This necessitated a dangerous daylight raid. No time to spare.
Daylight raid? That's risky in itself.
Extremely. The only plan deemed successful involved landing 3 Black Hawk helicopters, each with immense blades spanning over 60 feet into the middle of that small walled compound.
Into the compound? How small are we talking?
8-foot brick walls, leaving literally inches to spare for the helicopter blades. The highly skilled pilots had to dramatically alter their approach angle, almost falling out of the sky to thread that needle.
That's an incredible level of precision and risk, especially considering it was a combat zone with human lives on the line.
It truly was. From overhead surveillance, McRaven watched with bated breath as the first 2 helicopters landed with extreme, breathtaking precision. The third, however, approaching through a thick cloud of dust from the other's downwash, it clipped the 8-foot wall with its rear wheel.
Oh, no.
Bricks flew everywhere, a heart-stopping moment. But the pilot, with incredible skill and nerves of steel, forced the helo to the ground with a controlled thud. Everyone inside miraculously unharmed. Within minutes, the SEALs secured the compound, and the hostages were safe. What this fascinating anecdote reveals is that distinction between recklessness and daring greatly. These were not impulsive acts. They were meticulously calculated risks taken by highly skilled individuals in incredibly high-stakes situations where the alternative was certain failure. McRaven references the British Special Air Service, the SAS motto, "Who dares wins." It speaks to the idea that without pushing your limits, occasionally taking a calculated risk, both in training and in life, you might never discover your true potential, or what is truly possible, living in fear of failure, hardship, or embarrassment. It often limits our horizons, prevents us from achieving great things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For you, the listener, this lesson is an invitation. Consider where you might be playing it too safe. Embrace calculated risk-taking. Step outside your comfort zone to achieve greater potential and discover what you're truly capable of.
That's a powerful mantra for life, not just for special operations. Okay, let's move on to lesson 7. If you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks. Punch him in the snout. That's such a memorable image, but it's obviously a powerful metaphor, isn't it? For standing your ground.
It's an unforgettable image for a reason, yeah. Designed to stick with you. McRaven vividly recounts a 4-mile night swim off San Clemente Island, a place chillingly known as a breeding ground for great white sharks.
Woof. Not exactly inviting.
Not at all. Before the swim, instructors detailed all the various shark species present, reassuring trainees with a grim humor that no one had been eaten recently.
Comforting.
Right. The instruction they gave was stark and clear. If a shark circles, stand your ground. Do not swim away or act afraid, as that signals weakness. And if, God forbid, it darts towards you, summon up all your strength and punch him in the snout, and he will turn and swim away.
Just punch a great white shark. Simple.
Well, it raises an important question about the fundamental nature of courage, doesn't it? It's not about being fearless, McRaven emphasizes. It's about acting despite your fear, especially when facing intimidation. Without that courage, he states, others will inevitably define your path, and bullies of the world rise up, sensing your hesitation. This lesson provides a direct, visceral application. Confront fear head-on, don't yield to intimidation, and proactively protect your path forward.
And he applies this metaphor directly to the capture of Saddam Hussein, which gives it incredible real-world weight and even more profound significance.
It truly does. After Saddam Hussein's capture by U.S. forces, he was held in a small, nondescript room. When a delegation of the new Iraqi government leaders came to meet him, Saddam, despite being a prisoner, remained defiantly seated, smirked, tried to intimidate them.
Even as a prisoner.
Even then. He motioned for them to sit, and they were visibly fearful, hesitant to even speak, slowly subsiding as he began to talk, even from a safe distance. Saddam had terrorized the nation for decades. His intimidating presence, his history of brutality, still held immense sway over them.
So McRaven, observing this, had to take immediate, decisive action to break that cycle of fear and reassert authority.
Exactly. If the meeting was meant to show Saddam he was no longer in power, it had unequivocally failed. McRaven immediately instructed his guards to isolate Saddam completely. No visitors. Strict orders for guards not to speak with him.
Total isolation.
Total. Every single day, McRaven himself would visit, and without uttering a single word, he would simply motion Saddam back to his cot. This silent, unwavering action was a clear, unambiguous message. His power was lost, his ability to intimidate gone.
Wow. Silent treatment, but with immense weight.
Within 30 days, Saddam's arrogance and oppressiveness had completely dissolved. He was no longer a psychological or physical threat. He was eventually hanged for his crimes. The broader implication here, as McRaven explains, is that bullies, schoolyard, boardroom, ruling a country, they thrive on fear and intimidation. They sense weakness like sharks sense fear. If you don't find the courage to stand your ground, to push back, they will strike. It's a powerful call to action for you, the listener. Find that courage within yourself to confront tyranny and intimidation in any form. Recognize that courage isn't an external gift, but an internal resource you can cultivate and deploy.
What a powerful application of that lesson in standing firm. Okay, now for lesson 8. If you want to change the world, be your very best in the darkest moments. To be your absolute best when everything is falling apart. These ramp ceremonies McRaven describes sound like incredibly powerful examples of that principle.
They are profoundly so. This lesson is rooted in the culmination of the dive phase in SEAL training. A grueling 2,000-meter underwater swim across San Diego Bay to an anchored target vessel.
Underwater at night?
At night. Absolute zero visibility, dense fog rolling in, disorienting noise from the ship's machinery above, constant danger of the shipping channel. And they used what was chillingly called the death rig, their Emerson closed-circuit SQBA system.
The death rig. Why that name?
It was a silent rebreather device, recycled exhaled air, made no bubbles. Very stealthy. However, it was notoriously unreliable, highly prone to fatal malfunctions, required constant precise monitoring.
Sounds terrifying.
Yeah. The objective was to swim directly under the ship to the keel, the very darkest part, where disorientation was exceptionally easy and fear could easily overwhelm. The chief petty officer's words to the trainees were etched in their memory. Tonight we find out which of you sailors really want to be frogmen. You must rise above your fears, your doubts, and your fatigue. No matter how dark it gets, you must complete the mission. This is what separates you from everyone else.
That's a stark, almost suffocating setting for such a profound lesson in maintaining composure. And then he connects it to the solemn reality of war with the ramp ceremonies in Afghanistan.
Yes. McRaven describes ramp ceremonies at Bagram Air Base, Afghanistan, as incredibly solemn yet deeply inspiring rituals for fallen warriors. These ceremonies offered incredible dignity and honor to every single service member, regardless of background or the specific heroism of their death, a nation's profound way of recognizing their ultimate sacrifice.
What was the scene like?
Striking. Parallel lines of a silent honor guard. A three-piece band playing a haunting, amazing grace. Hundreds of personnel, generals to privates, paying silent respects. The Humvee carrying the remains would slowly approach. A flag-draped casket gently transferred to the waiting C-17 aircraft by pallbearers. A pastor reading from Isaiah 6.8. Here I am, send me. As taps played, tears flowed freely, yet there was an undeniable undercurrent of strength and resolve.
He speaks about how these moments, despite being steeped in profound, heartbreaking loss, somehow brought out the very best in people. Is that right?
Indeed. McRaven saw it repeatedly, demonstrating the extraordinary human capacity for grace under pressure. A twin brother comforting others after losing his own brother in combat. An entire ranger unit marching in formation for a fallen comrade in Savannah, Georgia. The whole town turning out a respectful silence to salute them.
Mm-hmm.
Airmen from a unit that had just lost comrades in a CV-22 crash, flying the very next day, knowing their fallen brothers would want them in the air, continuing the mission. And after that devastating helicopter crash that killed 31 special operators, the entire nation mourned, but also found incredible pride and resolve.
Mm-hmm.
What this truly speaks to is fighting strength and showing grace under unimaginable pressure. McRaven vividly describes the profound darkness of loss and how communities, families, military units came together to embody their best selves, to uphold dignity, to continue. It's a testament to the human spirit's inherent capacity for resilience and dignity, even when spirits are crushed, futures uncertain. For you, the listener, this reminds us that in your own darkest moments, personal or professional, you have the capacity to find unexpected strength and perform at your peak, setting an example for those around you.
That's an essential lesson for anyone facing adversity, isn't it? The idea that our best can emerge from the worst of times. Which leads us into lesson 9. If you want to change the world, start singing when you're up to your neck in mud. That anecdote about the mudflats, and then John Kelly at Dover Air Force Base, it truly shows the immense, almost miraculous power of a single person to provide hope when it's most desperately needed.
This lesson, with its vivid imagery, comes directly from the infamous Hell Week. Specifically, Wednesday at the Tijuana Mudflats.
Hell Week sounds appropriate.
Oh yeah. McRaven and his class were chest-deep in freezing, soul-crushing mud, enduring a howling wind. No moon, no sleep for what felt like an eternity. Morale was declining rapidly, students shaking uncontrollably from hypothermia, exhaustion.
Sounds like absolute misery.
It was. The instructors, sensing the breaking point, offered a tempting comfort, a warm fire, hot coffee, chicken soup, but with a cruel catch. 5 students had to quit for the rest to receive it.
Oh, that's brutal psychology.
Totally. One student, on the verge of succumbing, was about to give in, ring the bell, but then a single, out-of-tune but enthusiastic voice began to echo through the night. raced in song.
Just one voice. And that one act of defiance, despite the overwhelming misery, became an incredible catalyst.
It absolutely did. Others, initially hesitant, soon joined in. The instructor yelled for them to stop, furious that his psychological ploy was failing. But the singing only grew louder, a chorus of shared misery transforming into defiant hope.
And the student who was leaving?
He stopped, turned around, returned to the group. The mud, McRaven recalls, seemed to grow warmer, the wind gentler. Dawn felt suddenly closer. The single, unexpected act of one person singing inspired profound hope and united the class, demonstrating the immense, almost magical power of an individual to give hope in the darkest of moments.
The profound impact of hope, particularly when delivered with genuine empathy, is also beautifully illustrated in the story of Marine Lieutenant General John Kelly at Dover Air Force Base, right?
Indeed. A moment of immense national grief. That helicopter crash in Afghanistan killed 38 men, elite SEALs, brave Afghan partners, skilled Army aviators. The single greatest loss of life in the war on terror up to that point.
Just devastating.
Grieving families were gathered, inconsolable in their sorrow. The President, the Secretary of Defense, senior military leaders, including McRaven himself, were there to offer condolences. But McRaven struggled deeply to find the right words to truly console them, feeling his words fell tragically short in the face of such profound loss.
I can only imagine how inadequate words must feel then. But General Kelly was different. He had a unique, almost sacred ability to connect with those families.
John Kelly, then the military assistant to the Secretary of Defense, moved among the families, offered words of understanding, compassion, hope that resonated profoundly with the grief-stricken. He smiled, he hugged, he grasped their hands, bringing this rare sense of solace and human connection to a place steeped in despair.
Why him specifically? What made the difference?
Kelly could do this, McRaven realized, because he knew intimately what it was like to lose a son in combat. Marine First Lieutenant Robert Kelly, his own son, had been killed in Afghanistan in 2010.
Okay. That shared experience.
Exactly. General Kelly's very presence, his shared experience, his words, they gave immense strength and hope, not just to the grieving families, but to McRaven himself, who was struggling to cope with the collective loss. Hope, McRaven concludes, is described as the most powerful force in the universe. This truly makes us ask, how do we, in our own lives, cultivate and share hope, especially when faced with personal or collective despair? McRaven highlights that hope is profoundly contagious, and it often begins with one person rising above their own misery to inspire others. For you, the listener, it's about leading with empathy, demonstrating resilience, allowing others to draw strength from your own, and embracing the profound responsibility to be that source of hope for others.
The idea that one voice, one gesture of empathy can ignite such a powerful force is truly inspiring. And now for the final lesson, which truly ties everything together. Lesson 10. If you want to change the world, don't ever, ever ring the bell. The story of Army Ranger Adam Bates and his declaration, "I will be okay," is just incredibly powerful. It encapsulates the spirit of never giving up, even when everything, literally everything, is taken from you.
It is the capstone lesson, isn't it? The ultimate test of internal fortitude and commitment. On the very first day of SEAL training, 150 eager students were assembled. The instructor introduced a brass bell hanging prominently in the courtyard.
The infamous bell.
The infamous bell. He detailed with a grim relish the pain and harassment to come, promising to make you quit. He would harass them, embarrass them, push them beyond their physical and psychological limits, emphasizing there will be pain, lots and lots of pain.
But then he also offered a deceptively easy way out, didn't he?
Yes. He said, with an almost tempting tone, all you have to do to quit is ring this bell 3 times. Ringing the bell meant an immediate end to the early mornings, the frigid swims, the endless runs, the brutal obstacle courses, all the pain.
Tempting, I imagine.
Extremely. But then he paused, letting that temptation hang in the air, and delivered his profound warning. If you quit, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Quitting never makes anything easier, it only makes it harder. Out of that initial class of 150 students, only 33 graduated. Those who quit, McRaven believed, likely carried that regret for a very long time. This lesson isn't just about physical endurance, it's about mental resilience, the profound lasting impact of giving up on a commitment, and the freedom found in persistence.
And his encounter with Army Ranger Adam Bates in Afghanistan perfectly illustrates this never quit mindset. In the most heart-wrenching and truly inspiring circumstances imaginable.
It's a story that will absolutely stay with you. McRaven visited a combat hospital in Afghanistan. A 19-year-old Army Ranger named Adam Bates lay there. On his very first combat mission, Bates had lost both legs to a pressure plate mine.
Oh, God. 19.
19. He lay in bed, tubes extending from his mouth and chest, blast burns streaking his young face, his eyes barely visible. McRaven struggled immensely to find words of comfort for the young, sedated soldier, feeling utterly helpless in the face of such devastating injury.
What can you even say?
Right. The nurse, sensing his struggle, revealed that Bates was conscious and knew sign language because his mother was deaf. When McRaven finally spoke to him, Adam Bates, with his swollen face sensing the pity in McRaven's expression, slowly, deliberately signed, "I will be okay." And then, exhausted, he fell back asleep.
That moment, those 3 words, "I will be okay," that must have been absolutely shattering yet incredibly uplifting at the exact same time.
It moved McRaven to tears. He reflected that the hundreds of wounded soldiers he met, they never complained. They were intensely proud, almost universally wanted to return to their units. Adam Bates personified that unbreakable spirit.
And did he? Did he get back?
Well, a year later, McRaven saw Ranger Bates at a ceremony. Looking sharp in his dress uniform, his standing tall on his new prosthetic legs, even challenging his fellow Rangers to a pull-up contest. He was laughing, joking, smiling, and just as he promised that night in the hospital, he was okay.
That's just incredible.
This is the capstone lesson, the ultimate test of internal fortitude. It teaches us that while life is full of difficult times, and sometimes others indeed have it far worse, we have a fundamental choice in how we respond. We can choose self-pity, succumb to despair, or we can choose to stand tall, refuse to give up on our dreams, actively make life what we want it to be. For you, the listener, it reflects the cumulative impact of all the preceding lessons. Discipline, teamwork, resilience, courage, hope, all channeled into that unwavering perseverance. Reminding you that the profound and lasting impact of never giving up brings an unparalleled internal freedom. Hashtag outro.
We've just taken a deep dive into Admiral McRaven's 10 profound lessons. From the deceptively simple act of making your bed to the ultimate testament of resolve. Never ever ringing that bell. What began for him in the brutal proving grounds of SEAL training and was then distilled into the pages of this book and that powerful commencement speech, it truly does give you a powerful, actionable roadmap for navigating your own life and making a positive impact on the world around you.
The broader implication here, and McRaven's central unwavering method from the University of Texas, is profound. What starts here changes the world. He vividly illustrates how one person's decisive action can potentially save generations, or how a single act of hope can transform a struggling group. He insists these lessons aren't exclusive. They apply to everyone, regardless of background, gender, status. Our fundamental human struggles are remarkably similar, and the lessons to overcome them, they're universal. It all boils down to simple, consistent actions rooted in unwavering discipline, a commitment to teamwork, the courage to face adversity, and, well, an unbreakable will to persist.
So what does this all mean for you directly? The Admiral provides a striking thought experiment. He reminds us that if each of us commits to changing the lives of just 10 people, genuinely inspiring them to be better, and those 10 in turn do the same for 10 more.
The ripple effect.
Exactly. In just a few generations, roughly 125 years, a single graduating class, or indeed any group that commits to this, could collectively have changed the lives of 800 million people.
Wow, the scale is huge when you put it like that.
Go one more generation, and you could effectively change the entire population of the world, all 8 billion people. It powerfully highlights the exponential force of individual actions, no matter how small or insignificant they may seem at first glance. So consider this. If these seemingly small daily actions and unwavering principles rooted in discipline, teamwork, courage, perseverance can not only change an individual's life, but through their ripple effect, potentially alter the course of nations. What cumulative small things are you doing, or perhaps not doing, today that could collectively reshape your tomorrow, and perhaps the world around you? The power to begin is always unequivocally within your grasp.